Picture this: ancient stones arranged in perfect circles, lying silent beneath the cold waters of Lake Michigan, their purpose lost to time. Limestone pillars rising from lake waters like monuments to forgotten gods. Rock carvings older than medieval cathedrals, inscribed by hands whose stories we can only guess. And copper mines so ancient they predate the rise of Rome, yet their precision rivals modern engineering. Across Michigan, there are archaeological discoveries that aren't just intriguing, they're confounding. Some are so precisely arranged, so mysteriously placed, or so impossibly old that they challenge everything we think we know about the region's past. And yet, they are real. They're not legends whispered around campfires, not tales embellished by time, but physical, measurable sites and artifacts you can visit, touch, and explore. They've been studied by researchers, documented by archaeologists, and photographed by countless visitors. Yet in many cases, the explanations remain incomplete. In this exploration, we're diving into 7 such mysteries. From submerged stone circles to towering natural formations, from ancient mining operations to cryptic rock art scattered across the landscape. We'll examine what's been discovered, the history behind each site, the scale and significance of what we're looking at, and why, despite decades of research and modern investigative techniques, so many questions linger unanswered. Some of these sites may leave you wondering about the capabilities of ancient peoples. Others might have you imagining the lives of those who created them, working with tools and knowledge that seem inadequate for the monuments they left behind. So whether you're drawn by the history, the mystery, or the sheer impossibility of what we're about to explore, prepare yourself, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button, cause we're about to journey through some of Michigan's most puzzling archaeological enigmas that continue to defy complete explanation. 40 feet beneath the surface of Grand Traverse Bay, where sunlight barely penetrates and the water moves with the slow rhythm of the Great Lake, lies something that shouldn't exist. A circle of stones, carefully arranged, deliberately placed, resting in the sediment like a puzzle from another age. The discovery began in 2007 when underwater archaeologist Mark Holley was conducting a routine sonar survey of Grand Traverse Bay's depths. The expedition was part of a larger project to map the lake bottom, searching for shipwrecks and documenting the underwater landscape. What the sonar revealed was unexpected: a series of large objects arranged in what appeared to be a geometric pattern on the lake floor. When divers descended to investigate, they found a site that would challenge conventional understanding of Michigan's prehistoric past. Arranged in a rough circle, approximately 40 feet in diameter, stood a collection of large stones. These weren't random boulders scattered by glacial action or natural processes. They were deliberately positioned granite and sandstone blocks, some weighing several tons, forming what researchers would come to call the Lake Michigan Stonehenge. The stones vary in size, with the largest standing nearly 9 feet tall and weighing an estimated 6 tons. They're arranged with spaces between them, creating what appears to be a ceremonial or functional enclosure. Most intriguingly, several of the stones show evidence of human modification. Tool marks are visible on some surfaces, and at least one boulder bears what appears to be a carving of a mastodon, an extinct elephant-like creature that roamed North America during the last ice age. Dating the structure has proven challenging, but geological evidence suggests it was constructed approximately 9,000 years ago, during the early Holocene period, when Lake Michigan's water levels were significantly lower. At that time, what is now the lake bottom would have been dry land, accessible to the Paleo-Indian peoples who inhabited the region after the retreat of the last glaciers. The positioning of the stones appears deliberate rather than random. Several align with celestial events, suggesting possible astronomical purposes. The arrangement bears striking resemblances to other stone circles found worldwide, from Stonehenge in England to lesser-known megalithic sites across Europe and beyond. Yet its discovery in the American Midwest was entirely unexpected. Archaeological evidence from the surrounding area supports human presence during the period when the stone circle would have been accessible. Paleo-Indian artifacts, including spear points and tools, have been recovered from nearby underwater sites. These early inhabitants were sophisticated hunter-gatherers who followed migrating herds across the landscape and possessed detailed knowledge of seasonal patterns and celestial movements. The effort required to construct such a monument would have been considerable. Moving multi-ton stones without draft animals or wheeled transport would have required careful planning and significant manpower. The builders would have needed to quarry or select appropriate stones, transport them to the site, and position them with precision. The presence of modified stones suggests the work involved skilled craftspeople capable of shaping hard rock using stone tools, but the greatest mystery lies in the structure's purpose. Stone circles worldwide have served various functions. Astronomical observatories, ceremonial centers, burial sites, or territorial markers. The Lake Michigan Circle's alignment with certain celestial events suggests it may have functioned as a primitive calendar or ritual site tied to seasonal observations. The mastodon carving adds another layer of intrigue. If authentic, it represents one of the earliest known depictions of this extinct species by humans in North America. The carving could indicate the circle was built by people who had direct experience with these massive creatures, providing a rare glimpse into human megafauna interactions during the late Pleistocene period. However, questions persist about the carving's authenticity and age. Underwater environments can preserve organic materials and stone surfaces in unexpected ways, but they can also create formations that might be mistaken for human-made marks. The debate continues among researchers, with some advocating for more extensive underwater excavation to gather additional evidence. The site's underwater location presents unique challenges for study and preservation. Unlike terrestrial archaeological sites, the stone circle is constantly subjected to water movement, sediment deposition, and the gradual effects of submersion. Access requires specialized diving equipment and expertise, limiting the number of researchers who can study it firsthand. Rising lake levels over the millennia have obscured what may have once been a prominent landmark. The gradual submersion occurred as glacial meltwaters continued to fill the Great Lakes Basin and as post-glacial rebound altered regional topography. What was once potentially a hilltop or prominent landscape feature now lies hidden beneath decades of accumulated sediment and the cold waters of Grand Traverse Bay. The discovery has implications beyond archaeology. It suggests that significant prehistoric sites may lie submerged throughout the Great Lakes region, hidden beneath waters that rose as the continental ice sheets retreated. If one stone circle exists beneath Lake Michigan, others might await discovery in similar underwater environments across the region. Current preservation efforts focus on protecting the site from disturbance while allowing limited research access. The cold, low-oxygen environment of the lake bottom provides natural protection, but increased awareness of the site's location raises concerns about unauthorized diving and potential damage from curious visitors. The Lake Michigan Stonehenge stands as a reminder that the prehistory of North America holds mysteries we're only beginning to understand. Submerged beneath the waters of one of the continent's largest lakes, it challenges assumptions about early human capabilities and sophistication. Whether it served as an ancient observatory, a ceremonial center, or something else entirely, it represents a remarkable achievement by people who lived and worked in a landscape vastly different from the one we know today. As research continues and underwater archaeological techniques improve, perhaps more answers will emerge from the depths of Grand Traverse Bay. Until then, the stone circle rests in its underwater sanctuary, a testament to human ingenuity and ambition from an age when mammoths still roamed the earth and the Great Lakes were still taking their modern form. Rising from the waters of the Straits of Mackinac, like a limestone sentinel, St. Anthony's Rock has watched over the passage between Michigan's two peninsulas for millennia. This towering sea stack, standing nearly 40 feet above the lake surface, has guided travelers, inspired legends, and puzzled geologists with its remarkable preservation in one of the Great Lakes' most turbulent waterways. The rock takes its name from Father Louis Hennepin, the Belgian explorer and missionary who first documented it during his travels through the region in the late 17th century. Hennepin, who accompanied René Robert Cavelier, Sieur de la Salle, on his exploration of the Great Lakes, named the formation after Saint Anthony of Padua, the patron saint of lost things. The choice seems oddly prophetic, given that the rock's true origins and the full extent of its cultural significance remain partially lost to time. St. Anthony's Rock is composed primarily of Mackinac breccia, a distinctive limestone formation created during the Silurian period, approximately 400 million years ago. This ancient rock consists of angular fragments of older limestone cemented together by calcite, creating a remarkably durable structure that has withstood countless storms, ice ages, and the relentless erosive forces of the Great Lakes. What makes the rock's survival particularly remarkable is its location in the Straits of Mackinac, where powerful currents flow between Lakes Huron and Michigan. The straits experience some of the most dynamic water conditions in the entire Great Lakes system, with currents that can exceed 3 miles per hour and waves that regularly top 10 feet during storms. Yet the rock endures, its limestone composition proving more resistant to erosion than the surrounding softer sediments. The formation's structure reveals clues about the dramatic geological history of the region. The angular fragments within the breccia suggest violent geological events, possibly including seismic activity or rapid changes in sea level during the rock's formation. The cementing process that bound these fragments together created a natural concrete of sorts, explaining the structure's remarkable durability. Native American peoples of the region held the rock in special regard long before European contact. Oral traditions among the Ojibwe, Ottawa, and Potawatomi tribes speak of the rock as a navigation marker and sacred site. Warriors and traders traveling the waterways would use it as a reference point, and some accounts suggest it played a role in ceremonial practices related to safe passage across the often treacherous straits. The rock's isolated position in the middle of a major shipping channel has made it both a landmark and a hazard throughout recorded history. Ship captains navigating the straits must account for its presence, particularly during foggy conditions when visibility is limited. Several vessels have struck the rock or run aground nearby, adding to the maritime history of this already storied waterway. Early French explorers and missionaries recognized the rock's importance as a navigation aid and spiritual symbol for indigenous peoples. Father Hennepin's decision to name it after St. Anthony reflects the European practice of overlaying Christian symbolism onto existing indigenous sacred sites. This cultural layering has continued throughout the region's history, with each successive group of inhabitants adding their own interpretations and meanings to the natural landmark. Geological surveys conducted in the 20th century revealed that St. Anthony's Rock is not an isolated formation, but part of a larger underwater ridge system that extends across the strait's floor. Much of this ridge remains submerged, with only the highest points breaking the surface to form visible landmarks. The rock represents the tip of what was once a more extensive land bridge, connecting Michigan's peninsulas during periods of lower lake levels. The formation's resistance to erosion has created unique ecological conditions around its base. The rocky substrate provides habitat for various fish species, while the structure itself serves as a roosting site for cormorants, gulls, and other water birds. The surrounding waters are popular with divers exploring the underwater portions of the ridge system and the various shipwrecks scattered throughout the straits. Climate change and varying lake levels pose ongoing challenges to the rock's long-term stability. While the limestone has proven remarkably durable over geological time, recent fluctuations in Great Lakes water levels have altered the patterns of wave action and ice formation around the rock. Higher water levels increase the amount of the structure exposed to wave action, while lower levels expose previously submerged portions to new erosive forces. The rock has also become a subject of interest for researchers studying the effects of invasive species on Great Lakes ecosystems. Zebra mussels and other non-native organisms have colonized the underwater portions of the formation, potentially altering local food webs and water chemistry. These biological changes could have long-term implications for the rock's physical integrity and the surrounding ecosystem. Modern navigation technology has reduced the rock's importance as a maritime landmark, but it remains a significant cultural and historical symbol for the region. The nearby Mackinac Bridge, completed in 1957, has become the dominant feature of the Strait's landscape, yet St. Anthony's Rock continues to draw attention from historians, geologists, and tourists interested in the area's deep past. Archaeological investigations in the surrounding waters have revealed evidence of human activity dating back thousands of years. Stone tools, pottery fragments, and other artifacts recovered from the Strait's floor suggest that ancient peoples may have accessed the rock during periods of lower lake levels. The possibility that the rock served as a ceremonial site or gathering place for prehistoric cultures adds another layer to its historical significance. The formation's survival through multiple ice ages provides valuable information about the durability of different rock types in Great Lakes environments. As glaciers advanced and retreated across the region, they scoured away softer materials while leaving the more resistant limestone formations largely intact. St. Anthony's Rock thus serves as a natural monument to the geological processes that shaped the entire Great Lakes basin. Conservation efforts focus on protecting both the physical structure and its cultural significance. While the rock itself requires little active management, the surrounding waters and the archaeological resources they contain need protection from disturbance by recreational divers and boaters. Educational programs help visitors understand the formation's geological and cultural importance while encouraging responsible interaction with this unique natural landmark. Standing sentinel in the Straits of Mackinac, St. Anthony's Rock embodies the intersection of natural forces and human history that characterizes so much of Michigan's landscape. Its limestone bulk has witnessed the passage of glaciers and the rise and fall of lake levels, the arrival of indigenous peoples and European explorers, and the transformation of the Straits from a natural waterway to a major shipping channel. Whether viewed as a geological specimen, a navigation aid, or a cultural landmark, it remains a tangible connection to the deep forces that continue to shape the Great Lakes region. The rock's endurance through geological ages serves as a reminder of the timescales involved in natural processes and the remarkable durability of certain geological formations. As waters continue to flow through the straits and weather patterns shift with changing climate, St. Anthony's Rock stands as both witness and survivor. Its ancient limestone recording the ongoing story of one of North America's most dynamic waterways. Hidden within a small state park in Michigan's Thumb region, carved into sandstone surfaces weathered by centuries of wind and rain, lie some of the most mysterious messages left by the continent's earliest inhabitants. The Sanilac Petroglyphs represent the only known Native American rock art site in Michigan's Lower Peninsula, a collection of symbols and figures that have sparked debate about their meaning, age, and the people who created them. The petroglyphs were first documented by European settlers in the mid-19th century, though they had undoubtedly been known to local Native American communities for generations before that. Early accounts described the carvings as clear and distinct, but time and weather have taken their toll. What remains today requires careful observation and often specific lighting conditions to see clearly, as the shallow grooves blend with the natural texture of the sandstone. Located near Cass City in Michigan's Sanilac County, the site encompasses a relatively small area where ancient artists worked the surface of Marshall sandstone, a formation that dates back approximately 330 million years. The sandstone provided an ideal canvas for carving, soft enough to work with stone tools, but durable enough to preserve the images across centuries. The specific location was likely chosen not only for the workable stone, but also for its position near what was once a significant water source. The carvings themselves present a fascinating puzzle. Estimates of their age vary considerably, with most researchers suggesting they were created sometime between 300 and 1,000 years ago. However, some symbols may be significantly older, potentially dating back 3,500 years or more. The lack of organic material associated with the carvings makes precise dating difficult, leaving researchers to rely on stylistic comparisons and contextual evidence. The petroglyph panel displays a diverse array of symbols and figures. Handprints appear throughout the site, created by placing a hand against the rock and pecking around the outline. These negative hand images are among the most common forms of prehistoric rock art worldwide, yet their specific meaning in this context remains unclear. Animal figures include what appear to be birds, possibly thunderbirds significant in many Native American spiritual traditions. Other animals are less easily identified, their stylized forms open to multiple interpretations. Human figures appear in various poses and sizes, some appearing to be engaged in activities that might represent hunting, dancing, or ceremonial practices. Abstract symbols include circles, lines, and geometric patterns that could represent celestial objects, counting systems, or concepts that no longer have clear parallels in contemporary understanding. The arrangement of these elements across the sandstone surface suggests intentional composition rather than random marking. The petroglyphs show evidence of different carving techniques and possibly different time periods of creation. Some images are deeply incised into the rock, while others appear as lighter scratches on the surface. Variations in weathering patterns suggest that some carvings may be significantly older than others, indicating the site was used repeatedly over extended periods. Archaeological investigations around the petroglyph site have revealed evidence of long-term human occupation in the area. Stone tools, pottery fragments, and food remains recovered from nearby excavations span several thousand years, indicating that various Native American cultures found this location suitable for settlement or seasonal camps. The combination of workable stone, water access, and defensible positioning would have made it an attractive location for repeated use. The cultural context of the petroglyphs connects them to the broader tradition of Native American rock art found throughout North America. Similar symbols and themes appear at sites across the continent, suggesting shared spiritual concepts and artistic traditions among diverse indigenous groups. However, the specific combination of elements at Sanilac appears to be unique, reflecting local cultural adaptations and possibly site-specific purposes. Early observers often viewed them as primitive attempts at communication or simple decoration. More recent scholarship recognizes rock art as sophisticated symbolic communication that could convey complex spiritual, practical, and cultural information. Some researchers suggest the Sanilac petroglyphs may have served as a form of sacred text, recording spiritual experiences, or serving as a focal point for ceremonial activities. The presence of handprints might indicate personal or spiritual transformation, marking an individual's connection to the site and its power. Animal figures could represent spirit guides, clan symbols, or observations of the natural world important to the site's users. The Thunderbird motifs, if correctly identified, would connect the site to widespread Native American spiritual traditions regarding weather control and cosmic balance. These powerful beings were believed to control storms and rainfall, essential concerns for agricultural peoples. The inclusion of such symbols might indicate the site's use in weather-related ceremonies or seasonal observations. Weather and human activity have posed ongoing threats to the petroglyphs' preservation. The same sandstone properties that made carving possible also make the rock susceptible to erosion. Acid rain, freeze-thaw cycles, and general weathering have gradually softened the carved lines, making them increasingly difficult to see. Human impact has also taken a toll, with some areas damaged by well-meaning attempts to highlight the carvings with chalk or other materials. Modern conservation efforts focus on protecting the remaining petroglyphs while making them accessible to visitors and researchers. A shelter structure protects the most significant panel from direct weather exposure, while controlled access helps prevent inadvertent damage. Documentation efforts use advanced photography and digital imaging to record the petroglyphs in detail, creating permanent records that will remain even if the original carvings continue to fade. The site's designation as a state park has provided formal protection and educational opportunities, though it has also increased visitor pressure on the fragile carvings. Interpretive programs help visitors understand the petroglyphs' cultural significance while emphasizing the importance of preservation. The challenge lies in balancing public access with long-term conservation needs. Research continues into the petroglyphs' cultural context and meaning, with scholars working to connect the Sanilac site to broader patterns of Native American rock art and spiritual practice. Consultation with contemporary Native American communities has provided valuable insights into possible interpretations, though the specific cultural group responsible for the carvings remains uncertain. The petroglyphs also serve as a reminder of the rich cultural heritage that existed in Michigan long before European contact. They represent direct communication from people whose lives and beliefs were intimately connected to the landscape in ways that modern society is only beginning to understand. Each symbol carved into the sandstone represents a deliberate act of communication, a message left for future generations that we are still working to decode. As preservation technology improves and cultural understanding deepens, the Sanilac Petroglyphs may reveal more of their secrets. Advanced imaging techniques can sometimes reveal faded carvings invisible to the naked eye, while collaboration with Native American scholars and spiritual leaders continues to provide new perspectives on their meaning. The site stands as both an archaeological treasure and a sacred space, deserving protection and respect as one of Michigan's most direct connections to its indigenous past. The petroglyphs remind us that the landscape we see today was once alive with human activity and meaning in ways we can barely imagine. These carved stones represent not just artistic expression, but a worldview that saw the natural and spiritual realms as intimately connected. In protecting and studying them, we preserve not just archaeological evidence, but a window into ways of understanding and relating to the world that have much to teach us about our own relationship with the land and its history. In the cold, pristine waters of Lake Superior, where wolves once howled across wilderness islands and moose wade through morning mist, lies an island that holds one of North America's most profound archaeological mysteries. Isle Royale, now a national park accessible only by boat or seaplane, was once the center of the most extensive prehistoric mining operation on the continent. The evidence is everywhere once you know how to look. Thousands of shallow pits dot the island's landscape, each one marking a place where ancient miners extracted copper from the earth. Stone hammers weighing up to 40 pounds lie scattered across the terrain, abandoned where they broke or became too worn for further use. Massive copper boulders show the telltale signs of heating and hammering, techniques used to separate pure metal from surrounding rock. The scale of the operation staggers the imagination. Archaeological surveys have identified more than 5,000 prehistoric mining pits across Isle Royale, with some estimates suggesting the total may exceed 10,000. These aren't small prospecting holes, but substantial excavations, some reaching depths of 30 feet and spanning areas larger than modern house foundations. The sheer number of sites indicates mining activity that continued for thousands of years. Carbon dating of organic materials found in association with the mining sites suggests the activity began as early as 6,500 years ago and continued until approximately 1,200 years ago. This timeline spans multiple cultural periods and suggests that knowledge of Isle Royale's copper resources was passed down through generations of indigenous peoples across millennia. The techniques used by these ancient miners demonstrate sophisticated understanding of metallurgy and geology. They identified copper deposits by following surface stains and oxidation patterns that indicated metal-bearing rock beneath. Once a promising location was found, miners would build fires directly on the copper-bearing rock, heating it until thermal expansion created cracks. Cold water poured on the hot stone caused rapid cooling and further fracturing, making the rock easier to work. Large stone hammers, many fashioned from granite beach cobbles with carefully pecked grooves for hafting wooden handles, were used to break apart the fractured rock. The largest of these hammers required two-handed operation and represent specialized tools designed specifically for copper extraction. Smaller hammers and wedges allowed for more precise work in separating copper from surrounding matrix rock. The copper extracted from Isle Royale wasn't used locally. Archaeological evidence shows that finished copper tools and raw metal from the island's mines traveled vast distances across North America. Copper artifacts chemically matched to Isle Royale sources have been found in archaeological sites from the Atlantic coast to the Great Plains, indicating extensive trade networks that moved the island's copper across thousands of miles. The quality of Isle Royale copper made it particularly valuable for toolmaking. The metal occurs in nearly pure form in many deposits, requiring minimal processing to produce serviceable tools. Unlike copper ores found in many other locations, Isle Royale's deposits often contained large nuggets and sheets of native copper that could be worked directly without smelting. Evidence suggests the miners lived on the island seasonally, arriving in spring when lake ice cleared and departing before winter storms made travel dangerous. Archaeological sites contain the remains of temporary camps with hearths, stone tool manufacturing areas, and food processing locations. The presence of fishing equipment and wild plant remains indicates the miners supplemented their diet with local resources while working the copper deposits. The logistics of the mining operation reveal remarkable organizational capabilities. Transporting heavy stone hammers to the island required substantial watercraft, as did moving the extracted copper back to mainland communities. The coordination necessary to maintain mining activities across thousands of sites over millennia suggests well-established cultural systems and specialized knowledge passed down through generations. Some of the mining sites show evidence of surprisingly sophisticated engineering. Deep pits required methods for removing water that accumulated from rain and groundwater seepage. Wooden ladders and platforms allowed access to lower levels, while carefully constructed drainage systems channeled water away from active work areas. The largest excavations would have required teams of workers and careful planning to prevent cave-ins and accidents. The island's copper deposits formed during volcanic activity approximately 1.1 billion years ago, when lava flows created conditions that concentrated copper in exploitable formations. Later glacial action exposed many deposits and scattered copper-bearing boulders across the landscape, making them accessible to prehistoric miners with Stone Age technology. Modern geological surveys have confirmed that Isle Royale's copper deposits are among the richest and most extensive in the Great Lakes region. The same geological processes that created these deposits also formed copper resources throughout the Keweenaw Peninsula and other parts of the Lake Superior Basin. But Isle Royale's island location may have concentrated the richest deposits in a relatively accessible area. The end of prehistoric mining on Isle Royale remains as mysterious as its beginning. Archaeological evidence suggests mining activity declined gradually over several centuries before ceasing entirely around 200 years ago. Climate change, resource depletion, or shifts in trade patterns may have made the operation less viable, but the specific factors remain unclear. European contact brought renewed interest in the island's copper resources. French explorers and missionaries reported seeing evidence of ancient mining during the 17th and 18th centuries, describing pits and stone hammers that indicated extensive prehistoric activity. Later, American mining companies attempted to work some of the same deposits, but found that ancient miners had already extracted much of the accessible high-grade copper. The preservation of Isle Royale's prehistoric mining sites provides an unparalleled window into ancient North American industrial activity. The island's isolation and protection as a national park have prevented the destruction that has affected many other archaeological sites. Visitors can still see stone hammers lying where they were dropped centuries ago and walk among the pits where ancient miners labored to extract one of the continent's most valuable resources. Research continues into the full extent and organization of Isle Royale's prehistoric copper industry. Advanced techniques including ground-penetrating radar and systematic metal detection surveys are revealing new sites and providing insights into mining techniques and site organization. Collaboration between archaeologists and Native American communities is helping to reconstruct the cultural context of the mining activities and their significance within broader trade networks. The copper mines of Isle Royale represent one of the longest-running industrial operations in human history, predating Roman copper mining by millennia and continuing for longer than many modern nations have existed. The sophisticated techniques developed by prehistoric miners and the extensive trade networks that distributed their products demonstrate levels of organization and technological knowledge that challenge simplified views of prehistoric North American societies. Standing among the ancient pits that dot Isle Royale's landscape, surrounded by the pristine wilderness that has reclaimed much of the mining areas, visitors encounter direct evidence of human ingenuity and persistence spanning thousands of years. The stone hammers and copper stains in the rock tell a story of seasonal journeys, dangerous water crossings, backbreaking labor, and the creation of trade goods that traveled across a continent. The mystery isn't just how these ancient people accomplished such extensive mining with Stone Age tools, but why they maintained the operation for so many millennia. What drove generations of miners to make the dangerous journey to this remote island, to spend months extracting copper from increasingly difficult deposits, and to maintain the technical knowledge necessary for such sophisticated metallurgical work? Perhaps the answer lies in the metal itself. Copper tools offered significant advantages over their stone counterparts. They could be sharpened repeatedly, reshaped when damaged, and formed into complex shapes impossible with knapped stone. For peoples who depended on sophisticated tools for survival, the superior properties of copper made the effort and risk of Isle Royale mining worthwhile across thousands of years. The island's copper industry also represents one of humanity's earliest examples of sustainable resource extraction. Despite thousands of years of mining, the prehistoric operation never depleted the resource base entirely. The miners worked within the limits of their technology and transportation capabilities, taking what they needed while leaving substantial deposits for future generations. In an age of industrial mining that can strip resources from entire regions within decades, the longevity of Isle Royale's prehistoric copper industry offers lessons about working within natural limits. Rising 75 feet above the limestone bluffs of Mackinac Island, a solitary pillar of ancient stone stands as one of Michigan's most distinctive natural monuments. Sugarloaf, named for its resemblance to the conical blocks of refined sugar once common in kitchens, represents millions of years of geological processes compressed into a single dramatic formation that has captured imaginations and inspired legends for centuries. The formation consists primarily of Mackinac breccia, the same limestone that forms much of the island's bedrock and St. Anthony's Rock in the nearby straits. This particular outcrop, however, has been carved by wind, water, and ice into a towering spire that appears to defy gravity. Its narrow base and bulbous top create an almost mushroom-like silhouette against the sky, a shape that seems unlikely to survive the harsh Great Lakes climate, yet has endured for millennia. Sugarloaf's creation story begins approximately 450 million years ago during the Ordovician period, when the region lay beneath a warm, shallow sea. Layers of limestone accumulated on the sea floor, eventually forming the bedrock that would become the foundation of the modern Great Lakes region. The specific processes that created the breccia involved the breaking and re-cementing of older limestone layers, creating the jumbled texture visible in Sugarloaf's surface today. The formation's distinctive shape resulted from differential erosion over hundreds of thousands of years. As glaciers advanced and retreated across the region, they carved away softer surrounding materials while leaving the more resistant limestone core intact. Post-glacial processes, including freeze-thaw cycles and chemical weathering, continued to sculpt the formation into its current dramatic profile. What makes Sugarloaf particularly remarkable is its survival in such an exposed location. Mackinac Island experiences severe weather conditions typical of the northern Great Lakes, including high winds, dramatic temperature swings, and significant ice formation. The limestone pillar stands fully exposed to these elements, yet maintains its structural integrity despite apparent top heaviness that seems to defy engineering principles. The formation has attracted human attention for as long as people have inhabited the region. Native American oral traditions include references to the distinctive rock pillar, with some accounts suggesting it played a role in navigation and spiritual practices. The Ojibwe name for the formation translates roughly to standing stone or tall rock, indicating its significance as a landmark long before European contact. French explorers and missionaries noted Sugarloaf in their early accounts of Mackinac Island, describing it as a natural wonder that stood out dramatically against the island's otherwise relatively low profile. The formation became a popular subject for early artists and photographers documenting the Great Lakes region, its unusual shape providing a striking focal point for landscape compositions. The rock's name reflects 19th century culinary practices, when refined sugar was sold in hard, conical blocks called sugarloaves. These dense white cones had to be broken apart with special tools before use, and their distinctive shape was familiar to most households. The limestone pillar's resemblance to these household items made Sugarloaf an obvious and memorable name for the formation. Geological surveys of Sugarloaf have revealed the complex internal structure that allows such an apparently unstable formation to remain standing. The limestone breccia contains numerous fractures and joints, but these are filled with calcite cement that actually strengthens the overall structure. The rock behaves more like reinforced concrete than simple limestone, with the angular fragments providing internal reinforcement. The formation's survival also depends on the specific properties of Mackinac breccia. This particular type of limestone weathers at a relatively slow rate compared to other sedimentary rocks, and its cemented structure resists the kind of granular disintegration that affects many limestone formations. The result is a rock that can maintain steep faces and sharp edges even after extended exposure to harsh weather. Climate monitoring around Sugarloaf has revealed the extreme conditions the formation endures. Winter temperatures regularly drop well below 0 Fahrenheit, while summer heat can exceed 90 degrees. This temperature range of more than 100 degrees creates significant thermal stress as the rock expands and contracts. Ice formation in cracks and crevices adds hydraulic pressure that can split even solid rock, yet Sugarloaf continues to maintain its distinctive profile. The formation has become an important site for studying limestone weathering processes in Great Lakes environments. Researchers use Sugarloaf as a natural laboratory for understanding how different types of sedimentary rock respond to the specific combination of temperature, moisture, and chemical conditions found in the region. The knowledge gained has applications for preserving historic limestone buildings and predicting the long-term stability of natural rock formations. Modern conservation efforts focus on protecting Sugarloaf from human impact while allowing continued scientific study and public access. The formation stands within Mackinac Island State Park, providing formal protection from development or quarrying activities. However, its popularity as a tourist destination creates ongoing management challenges related to foot traffic and potential vandalism. Visitor impact on Sugarloaf occurs primarily through trail erosion and the occasional attempt to climb the formation itself. While the limestone is remarkably durable, repeated human contact can accelerate weathering processes and create safety hazards for climbers. Park management has implemented viewing restrictions and educational programs to help visitors appreciate the formation while minimizing their impact. The formation continues to change slowly as weathering processes gradually modify its shape. High-resolution photography and laser scanning conducted over multiple years have documented subtle changes in Sugarloaf's profile, providing insights into ongoing erosion rates and patterns. This long-term monitoring helps scientists understand how similar limestone formations respond to changing climate conditions. Sugarloaf's role as a cultural landmark extends beyond its geological significance. The formation appears in countless photographs, paintings, and promotional materials representing Mackinac Island and the Great Lakes region. Its distinctive silhouette has become an iconic symbol of northern Michigan's natural heritage, recognized by visitors from around the world. The formation also serves as a connection point between human history and geological time. Visitors standing at the base of Sugarloaf can contemplate processes that operated over millions of years to create the limestone, followed by thousands of years of glacial and post-glacial sculpting to create its current form. The human history associated with the site spans centuries, from Native American recognition through European exploration to modern tourism and scientific study. Educational programs at Sugarloaf help visitors understand both its geological significance and its role in regional cultural history. Interpretive displays explain the formation processes while also discussing the human stories associated with the site. The combination of natural and cultural history provides a comprehensive view of how landscape and people interact over time. Research continues into Sugarloaf's formation history and long-term stability prospects. Advanced dating techniques may eventually provide more precise information about when the formation achieved its current shape, while ongoing monitoring will help predict its future evolution. Understanding how Sugarloaf has survived in such an exposed location could provide insights applicable to other limestone formations facing similar environmental pressures. The formation stands as a testament to the power of geological processes operating over vast timescales. From its origin in ancient seas through glacial sculpting to ongoing weathering, Sugarloaf embodies the dynamic nature of what often appears to be a static landscape. Its survival demonstrates both the durability of certain geological materials and the constant, gradual changes that continue to shape the Earth's surface. As climate patterns shift and lake levels fluctuate, Sugarloaf faces new challenges that may test its remarkable durability. Changing precipitation patterns could alter weathering rates, while temperature extremes might increase thermal stress on the formation. Monitoring these changes will provide valuable data about how limestone formations respond to evolving environmental conditions. Sugarloaf remains one of Michigan's most photographed and visited natural landmarks, drawing thousands of visitors annually who come to see this remarkable example of geological artistry. Its prominence on Mackinac Island and distinctive profile ensure its continued role as an iconic symbol of the Great Lakes region's natural heritage. Whether viewed as a geological specimen, a cultural landmark, or simply a striking example of nature's sculptural abilities, Sugarloaf continues to inspire wonder and respect for the complex processes that shape our world. Hidden in the rugged wilderness of Michigan's Upper Peninsula, where dense forests give way to rocky outcrops and pristine streams, lies a natural formation, so perfectly round and mysteriously deep that early settlers could only attribute its creation to supernatural forces. The Devil's Soup Bowl, located in the remote backcountry near the Porcupine Mountains, presents a geological puzzle that continues to challenge explanations and fuel local folklore. The formation consists of a nearly circular depression approximately 30 feet in diameter, carved into solid granite bedrock, with walls that descend vertically for more than 20 feet before disappearing into dark water of unknown depth. The precision of the circular shape and the smooth, polished appearance of the stone walls create an almost artificial appearance that seems to defy natural formation processes. Early French-Canadian loggers working the region in the late 19th century gave the formation its ominous name, unable to explain how such a perfectly round hole could exist in solid rock. The smooth walls showed no obvious tool marks, yet appeared too regular to be the result of normal geological processes. Local folklore quickly developed around the mysterious pit, with stories claiming it was carved by the devil's own hands as a place to prepare his supernatural meals. The geological setting of the Devil's Soup Bowl adds to its mystery. The formation sits within the Canadian Shield, an ancient geological province characterized by some of the oldest rocks on Earth. The local granite dates back more than 2 billion years and represents some of the most durable bedrock on the continent. That such ancient, resistant rock could be carved into such a precise circular form raises questions about the forces involved in its creation. Several geological processes have been proposed to explain the formation, but none fully account for all its characteristics. Glacial action could have carved the depression, with swirling ice and rock debris acting like a giant drill bit to bore into the bedrock. However, typical glacial formations show more irregular shapes and different surface textures than those observed in the Devil's Soup Bowl. Another possibility involves hydrothermal activity, with hot water and steam under pressure carving the circular chamber through chemical and thermal erosion. The smooth walls could result from prolonged exposure to heated, mineral-rich water that dissolved and redeposited rock material over thousands of years. However, no evidence of mineral deposits or hydrothermal alteration has been identified in the surrounding area. The formation could also represent a type of pothole, created by swirling water carrying rock debris that gradually abraded the granite surface. Such formations occur in river systems where turbulent water creates circular currents capable of boring deep holes in bedrock. The Devil's Soup Bowl's location, however, shows no evidence of the kind of massive water flow that would be necessary to create such a large, deep formation. Water fills the bottom of the bowl to an unknown depth, creating a dark pool that reflects the sky and surrounding forest canopy. The water appears to be groundwater seepage rather than surface runoff, as no streams flow into or out of the formation. The water level remains relatively constant throughout the year, suggesting a connection to deep groundwater systems in the fractured bedrock below. Attempts to measure the depth of the water-filled portion have been hampered by the formation's remote location and the difficulty of transporting equipment to the site. Early attempts using weighted lines suggested depths of at least 15 feet below the water surface, but more precise measurements have not been conducted. The dark water and steep walls make visual estimation impossible, adding to the formation's mysterious character. The surrounding forest provides few clues about the bowl's origin. Ancient white pines and hardwoods grow right to the edge of the formation, with some trees showing root systems that appear to follow the circular outline. The vegetation shows no signs of disturbance that might indicate recent geological activity, suggesting the formation is quite old and the forest has had time to establish stable growth patterns around it. Wildlife in the area seems to avoid the formation, with game trails and animal signs notably absent in the immediate vicinity. Whether this reflects some environmental factor associated with the bowl or simply represents random variation in animal movement patterns remains unclear. Local hunters and trappers have noted the absence of animal activity near the site, adding to its reputation as an unusual and somewhat forbidding place. The formation's remote location has helped preserve it from human impact while also limiting scientific study. Reaching the Devil's Soup Bowl requires a challenging hike through unmarked forest, following old logging roads and game trails that can be difficult to navigate. The lack of easy access has prevented both vandalism and detailed scientific investigation, leaving many questions about the formation unanswered. Early surveys conducted by logging companies included references to the unusual rock formation, but provided few details about its characteristics or possible origin. Company maps from the 1890s mark the location with notations suggesting it was considered a noteworthy landmark for navigation purposes, but no formal geological surveys were conducted during this period. Modern interest in the Devil's Soup Bowl has grown among geologists studying unusual rock formations in the Great Lakes region. The combination of perfect circular shape, smooth walls, and ancient bedrock makes it a unique feature worthy of detailed study. However, the remote location and difficulty of access have limited the extent of scientific investigation. Recent technological advances in portable geological survey equipment may eventually provide more definitive answers about the formation's origin and characteristics. Ground-penetrating radar could reveal the full extent of the chamber below the waterline, while chemical analysis of the water and surrounding rock might provide clues about the processes involved in the bowl's creation. The formation raises intriguing questions about the variety of geological processes that can operate in the Great Lakes region. If natural processes created the Devil's Soup Bowl, they represent an unusual combination of factors that produced a remarkably regular and precisely formed result. Understanding these processes could provide insights into other unexplained geological formations in similar settings. Local folklore continues to surround the Devil's Soup Bowl, with stories passed down through generations of hunters, loggers, and outdoor enthusiasts who have encountered the mysterious formation. While most recognize the supernatural explanations as colorful mythology, the formation's unusual characteristics continue to inspire wonder and speculation about the forces that shaped it. Conservation of the site depends largely on its remote location and the difficulty of access that naturally limits human impact. However, increasing interest in backcountry recreation and geological tourism could eventually threaten the formation's pristine condition. Protecting such sites requires balancing public interest and scientific study with the need to preserve their natural integrity. The Devil's Soup Bowl represents one of those rare geological features that challenges easy explanation and continues to inspire curiosity and wonder. Whether formed by glacial action, hydrothermal processes, or some combination of factors not yet fully understood, it stands as a testament to the complex and sometimes mysterious ways that natural forces can shape the landscape. Standing at the edge of the circular depression, surrounded by the quiet wilderness of the Upper Peninsula, visitors encounter a direct challenge to assumptions about how geological processes operate. The perfectly round hole carved into ancient granite seems to suggest forces and processes operating on scales and in ways that stretch our understanding of how the natural world works. The formation serves as a reminder that despite centuries of geological study and technological advancement, the natural world still holds mysteries that defy complete explanation. The Devil's Soup Bowl may eventually yield its secrets to scientific investigation, but for now, it remains what has always been: a perfectly circular question mark carved into some of the oldest rock on Earth, waiting for an answer that matches its remarkable precision and mysterious origin. At the northwestern tip of Michigan's Lower Peninsula, where Lake Michigan's waters turn treacherous and shipping lanes converge in a maze of shoals and reefs, stands one of the Great Lakes' most endangered and mysterious lighthouses. Waugoshance Light, built in 1851 on a remote limestone reef, has weathered more than 170 years of storms, ice, and neglect to become both a maritime landmark and an archaeological puzzle that raises questions about lighthouse construction, Great Lakes navigation, and the ongoing battle between human engineering and natural forces. The lighthouse rises from Waugoshance Shoal, a dangerous limestone reef that extends nearly 2 miles into Lake Michigan. The name itself derives from an Ottawa word meaning bent like a bow, describing the curved shape of the reef that has claimed countless vessels over the centuries. The shoal sits at the intersection of major shipping routes connecting the lower Great Lakes with ports in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Michigan's Upper Peninsula, making it one of the most hazardous obstacles in the entire Great Lakes system. Construction of Waugoshance Light represented one of the most challenging lighthouse projects ever undertaken in the Great Lakes. The remote location, exposed to the full fury of Lake Michigan storms, required innovative engineering solutions and extraordinary dedication from the construction crews who worked under dangerous conditions to establish a permanent beacon on the reef. The lighthouse stands 76 feet tall, constructed of cream-colored brick, with walls that taper from 5 feet thick at the base to 18 inches at the top. This massive construction was necessary to withstand the tremendous forces generated by Great Lakes storms, when waves routinely exceed 20 feet and ice can build up to dangerous thicknesses around the structure. The lighthouse's foundation extends deep into the limestone bedrock of the reef, providing the stable base necessary for such an exposed location. What makes Waugoshance Light unique among Great Lakes lighthouses is its distinctive birdcage lantern room, a cylindrical iron structure that houses the beacon apparatus. This design, more commonly seen in East Coast lighthouses, was specifically chosen for its ability to withstand high winds and ice loading. The lantern room originally held a third-order Fresnel lens, a sophisticated optical system that focused the light beam with remarkable efficiency. The lighthouse's construction story reveals the extraordinary challenges faced by 19th century engineers working in such an exposed location. Materials had to be transported by boat during the brief Great Lakes shipping season, often in dangerous conditions. Workers lived in temporary quarters on the reef during construction, exposed to storms and isolation for months at a time. The project took 3 years to complete, delayed repeatedly by weather and the difficulty of establishing reliable supply lines to such a remote location. Operation of Waugoshance Light required lighthouse keepers who could endure extreme isolation and dangerous conditions. The station was typically manned by a head keeper and 1 or 2 assistants who lived year-round in quarters built into the lighthouse base. These keepers maintained the beacon, recorded weather observations, and provided assistance to vessels in distress, often at considerable personal risk. The lighthouse's most mysterious period began during the late 19th century, when several keepers reported strange phenomena around the structure. Ship logs and lighthouse records describe unusual lights moving around the reef, sounds with no apparent source, and equipment malfunctions that seem to defy explanation. While some accounts can be attributed to the stress and isolation of lighthouse keeping, others remain puzzling even today. One of the most documented incidents occurred in 1894 when keeper James Davenport reported seeing lights moving beneath the water around the reef during a clear, calm night. The lights appeared to follow patterns that suggested intelligence or purpose, but no explanation could be found. Similar reports continued sporadically for decades, adding to the lighthouse's reputation as a place where unusual events occurred. The structure faced its greatest challenge during the winter months, when ice formation around the lighthouse could reach extraordinary proportions. Ice sheaths several feet thick would accumulate on the tower's exterior, adding tremendous weight and creating conditions that could damage or destroy the structure. The lighthouse's design included features specifically intended to shed ice, but the accumulation still posed ongoing threats to its stability. Records from the lighthouse's operational period describe ice formations so extensive that they created temporary land connections between the lighthouse and nearby shoals. During severe winters, ice could completely surround the structure, cutting off all communication and supply routes until spring thaw reopened the waters. Keepers trapped in such conditions had to rely entirely on stored provisions and their own resourcefulness to survive until relief arrived. The lighthouse's beacon was automated in 1912, eliminating the need for resident keepers, but also beginning a period of reduced maintenance and gradual deterioration. Automated systems required less human intervention, but also meant that problems could go unaddressed for extended periods. The structure's remote location made regular maintenance visits difficult and expensive, leading to deferred repairs that accelerated the lighthouse's decline. By the mid-20th century, changes in Great Lakes shipping routes and navigation technology reduced the lighthouse's importance. Larger vessels could navigate around the Waugoshance Shoal rather than passing close to it, while electronic navigation aids provided more precise positioning information than traditional lighthouse beacons. The light was officially decommissioned in 1983, ending more than 130 years of continuous operation. Decommissioning marked the beginning of Waugoshance Light's transformation from functional navigation aid to endangered historical artifact. Without regular maintenance and protection from vandalism, the structure began deteriorating rapidly. Ice damage, storm exposure, and the natural aging of 19th century construction materials all contributed to its declining condition. The lighthouse's current state presents a complex preservation challenge. The remote location that once made it strategically important now makes restoration and maintenance extraordinarily expensive. Accessing the lighthouse requires boats or helicopters, and working conditions on the exposed reef remain as challenging as they were during original construction. Weather windows for restoration work are limited to calm periods during the Great Lakes shipping season. Recent surveys of the lighthouse reveal extensive damage to both structural and decorative elements. The distinctive birdcage lantern room has suffered significant deterioration, with portions of the iron framework corroded or damaged by ice and storm action. The brick tower shows signs of water infiltration and freeze-thaw damage, while the lighthouse's foundation has been undermined by continued wave action against the reef. Despite its deteriorating condition, Waugoshance Light continues to serve as a navigation landmark for recreational boaters and commercial vessels. Its distinctive profile remains visible from considerable distances, and many mariners still use it as a reference point when navigating the complex waters around the Straits of Mackinac. The lighthouse has become a symbol of both human achievement and the relentless power of natural forces. Efforts to preserve Waugoshance Light face significant technical and financial obstacles. The structure's remote location makes any restoration work extremely expensive, while its exposure to continuing storm damage means that preservation efforts require ongoing maintenance rather than one-time repairs. Several organizations have proposed restoration plans, but the costs involved have prevented implementation of comprehensive preservation programs. The lighthouse also faces threats from changing lake levels and storm patterns associated with climate change. Higher water levels increase wave action against the foundation, while more intense storms create greater ice loading and wind forces. These changing conditions could accelerate the structure's deterioration and make preservation even more challenging. As waters continue to flow around Waugoshance Shoal and storms continue to test the lighthouse's endurance, the structure stands as both monument and mystery. Its survival represents a remarkable engineering achievement, while its deteriorating condition raises questions about how society values and preserves its maritime heritage. Whether Waugoshance Light will survive another century depends on decisions made today about the importance of preserving these tangible connections to the Great Lakes' maritime past. The lighthouse's story continues to unfold as researchers, preservationists, and the forces of nature interact around this remote reef in northern Lake Michigan. Each storm tests its durability, while each passing year adds to its historical significance. Waugoshance Light remains what it has always been, a beacon that speaks not only to ships seeking safe passage, but to anyone who wonders about the human capacity to build lasting structures in the face of overwhelming natural forces. So, which of these ancient wonders captivated you the most? Do you have a theory about one of them? Or is there a mysterious site you think we should have included? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear them. And if you enjoyed this journey through some of Michigan's most mysterious ancient sites, make sure to subscribe to the channel. We have plenty more coming. Lost cities, forgotten cultures, and the strange enduring questions history leaves behind. As always, until next time, stay curious.